everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Talking Tongue, the weekly quarantine show where I get to talk to my friends near and far to talk about the movies, the books. We're not talking about books. No way.
You can't read. Yeah.
Talking about, I can't read. No. We talk about, what else do we talk about? Like knitting. We talk about curling, crafts.
These are all things specific to this episode.
This right.
Hasn't come up earlier.
This has never come up earlier. I don't know anything about knitting or crafts, but today we're going to learn a thing or two. Maybe. We'll see. Mm-hmm. Everyone, put your hands together for Kristy Matheson. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome back. I'm going to say welcome back to the show, but welcome back to the Pod Cavern as a whole. You were just on this month on Top 5 Love songs over at Ranked Top 5 List of Stuff That Don't Matter. And instantly you're like, Tongue, I've caught the bug. I want more podcasting. You're strangling me from afar.
That's true.
Yeah.
A long distance strangle. It was hard to execute, but it was well worth it. I think like you read the impatience in my tone, I think. So I feel, I feel good that I forced you to do this with me.
Well, you didn't force me. I mean, I guess you kind of did, but I'm happy that you're back. Truly, it's going to be such a fun episode. Now, Kristy, some people don't know who you are. They didn't listen to Top 5 Love Songs. They don't know how, what's the word, terrible your opinions are on love songs. Just kidding. But for the people who don't know who you are, why don't you introduce yourself to the people?
My name is Kristy. I'd say I'm a pretty regular person.
What does that even mean?
It means I agree. I do have some awful opinions, but I really take the defense of those opinions to heart. So maybe I would say you would learn something new with me because I probably like something very deeply that maybe you don't.
Right.
So I'll tell you all about it. So things like you said, like knitting, curling. We'll talk about knitting season and you'll probably learn something. But yeah, so I would say that I'm a regular person with some ridiculous opinions.
I want to let's unpack this a little bit. Knitting season. What is that? Season. What does that mean? There's a season for it? It's not like a year-round thing?
No, there's a season for it, for sure. Because in the summer, you don't want to be knitting something because as you're knitting, it builds up on top of your body. So it's a great craft to keep you warm. So it's good to do it in the winter. Also, it's a great handheld craft. So you can watch TV while you do it. Recently, I've been into podcasts while I do a nice handicraft. Mm-hmm. But if you're sewing or something that requires full attention, you can't be watching TV. You could have it in the background, but it's not your full, thing. So it's knitting season because you want to be cozy on the couch. You're making yourself cozy as you get through the project. You could wear it right away after because it's warm. It's knitting season.
Interesting. Okay. So when it's not knitting season, what other craft season is it?
Well, you can go crazy. If you, like I said, a good handicraft again is cross stitch, hand sewing I've been into lately. But again, I think that's more winter stuff. So in the summer season, I would mostly sew because I like to sew fun summer clothes. I have trouble sewing winter clothes, hence knitting season. Yeah. So in the summer, I'm definitely more in my studio and sewing stuff that way if I'm not outside.
Your studio, you have your own studio for this stuff.
Well, it sounds like it's great. It's like a closet in the attic and it gets very hot.
No, call it the studio though. I love how I should start calling the Pod Cavern this basement that I'm in, the studio. I love that. That's so much more official. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I've been reading some stuff on how to invigorate your hobbies and breathe some more life into your creativity. And one of them was having a dedicated space that you name it something special. So when you go in, it's a special experience. Mm-hmm. And part of that is keeping that area nice and tidy, which I definitely struggle with, I would say.
Yeah, me too. I mean, there's a freaking ladder in the background of the basement right now. And I don't know how it got there. I'm not climbing. The basement has low ceilings. I don't know. I blame Laura. Now, Kristy, it is the darkest of times. We're in the darkest timeline right now, but we're not going to talk about all that COVID nonsense that's been trying to keep us down because we're positive people in here in the Pod Cavern. What keeps you happy during the pandemic besides knitting and all that stuff?
Oh, good. Okay. So, like I said, I'm reading a lot about how to like breathe new air into my creativity. So part of that is I'm really valuing my friendships during this time and really trying to put like more effort into my friendships. So,
Hmm.
and like, so again, I've read a lot about this. So one of the things is like communicating over different ways. So if you do Zoom for work, like don't do Zoom with your friends because like you'll probably be over it, right?
Hmm.
So I found that like I would do things like send voice memos to like the group chat, which got like really well received. And like literally my friends texted me privately afterwards and they're like, it's so good just to hear your voice, which is like so kind for your friends to say to you. And I recently became a very dedicated pen pal with one of my good friends. And it's been so awesome. So we like it's great because it's like when you get the letter, you're so excited and you like create like a little ambiance to read the letter to, and then you write your letter, right? And so I don't know, it's great. And then it's also like thinking my handwriting's terrible, so I'm like maybe I get a typewriter, maybe I go and do all this stuff, and
Oh,
it's
that's
like
so cool.
yeah, we've been friends for like 25 years, so it's like cool to have this like different element that's now like documented because we can keep those letters for as long as you want.
Oh, well, you can keep an email in an inbox. No, it's not the same.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I love the idea. I mean, I'm never gonna do the pen pal. I mean, I used to do that, but like my writing also sucks. And I'm like a speed writer, just the way I'm like a speed typer. I
Mm-hmm.
find myself I can write really fast, whether that's typing or handwriting, but I also make a lot of spelling mistakes along the way in a sacrifice of that speed. And I don't want to slow down. You can't slow this
Yeah.
baby down. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. I'm definitely like a speed writer too. And I find that I join letters together
Yep.
or I'll just like forget to put in a letter, but I'll know what that means. Um, so I get it. And like recently the biggest like a drawback is all my blue pens have run out. So I have to write in black. And that really bothers me. And I have these
That
like really
really
fancy,
bothers you?
it really bothers me because it just seems like so much like so harsh, right? Like writing in black pen is so harsh, and writing in blue pen is like a nice warm tone. Like I don't know, I prefer a blue pen over a black pen. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are like blue and black, at least historically from all the pens that I've bought in my in my life. They look somewhat similar, but there is a difference. But I would say arguably blue is not a warm color. That is a cold color.
Oh yeah, I mean like the tone of the blue font versus the black font is like a warmer tone,
I see.
like
So,
tone of voice.
okay. Now, my
Yeah.
question to you, Christy, is why even have black pens in the house?
Great question. So I used to work for a place that had like very fancy pens, and it always blew my mind because my favorite pen is like a good old Bic pen with like the metal head, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a blue ink, obviously, and it's a click on or off. Very
Yep.
specific about my favorite pen. So then I worked for this place that had fancy pens, and I was in charge of the fancy pens. So I really had to like get in deep of like, you know, person that's buying $100 pen, what are they looking for in said pen? So I got to try out all these pens and they were so heavy and they were always black ink. And like me, again, a speed writer, this heavy pen is only doing damage to what is supposed to be legible. Like
Right.
it was so bad. So I have these big fancy pens that I hate using that make my printing worse. And that's all that's left in the house. But I kept them as like a reminder of trying to get into the heavy pen world and be a fancy pen person.
So you have like possibly like super expensive pens in your household right now, and you're like, nah, it's Bic all the way.
Yeah, it's the poor man's pen for me. Like the fancy pens, it's a scam. Nobody needs them. They don't
Hmm.
feel good to write in. But like, what's your take on the pen situation? What's your favorite pen?
Well, I'm not. That's I was gonna joke and say like my favorite pen is the one that has like 8 different colors on it. You know what I mean?
So
That
a
you can
good
just
pen,
like.
solid pen.
It's an
Yeah,
okay pen, but it is unwieldy. And then I was gonna say quill pen, but I've never actually written with a quill pen before. I'm sure you have at some point.
yeah,
You have.
yeah,
I'm not
totally.
even.
Because you
Why am
don't
I
see
not
a quill pen
surprised?
and you're not okay. Because you see one and you're like, let me test that baby out. Let me take it for a test run. You do your signature, then you
Yeah.
try to write like a real sentence, then you write the
Yeah.
alphabet. Yeah, yeah,
Do you
totally.
like
You're
the quill
telling
pen?
It's interesting, but it's not like a everyday thing. Like it makes you feel like you're writing in the 1800s, and like that's good for a fantasy, but not good when I'm writing my pen pal a 6-page letter.
That's interesting,
Actually,
Kristy,
I could
because
do it.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say your soul to me has always felt like someone from the 1800s trapped in a body of someone from
Wow.
2021.
Listen, yeah, I
Yeah,
agree. Maybe a lot of things I'd like to do are for the older generation. I
yeah.
will agree with that. But maybe they didn't get it wrong. And also, like, what's like a young person hobby that I don't have? We'll say that.
That's true. That's true. I mean, like spoilers, you have a TikTok channel. So like you're already tapped into the younger generation more so than I am. But you're also, you know what? You hit the whole spectrum of age. That's what
Mhm.
you're doing. You got the
Yeah.
TikTok for the young and you got your knitting and sewing for the older. But I'm
Hmm.
not even sure if that's for older people. I guess like even Laura does all that stuff too. Maybe she's an old
Right.
person and I don't know it.
See, you're doing the hobby injustice because you're saying that only old women do it, right?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't
Like,
say that,
tongue,
but
let it be known. Okay, okay. We'll say traditionally it
yes,
is older females who take up these kinds of hobbies. But
you're right. Traditionally.
when you look into like the history of them and stuff, it's actually like really interesting and quite like rich, like in terms of like tapestry building and things like that, and how different cultures would communicate with them and like different styles of all like fiber arts and crafts. This is going really deep. But anyways, the point being there needs to be like a resurgence in it because it's like good practical skills to have. If you don't have those, like it's really hard to, I don't know, just like be responsible for when things break and learn how to fix them.
It's
This was a
true.
weird tangent.
I was just thinking like some of Captain Meatball, our dog, for the people who don't know, his toys have started to rip. And my first thing was like, let's throw money at it. Let's buy a new one. And Laura's like, I can fix that. And I'm like, no, it's too much work. I'll spend the whatever $30-$40 on it. It'll be so much easier. She's like, no, but I can fix it for like $0. And I'm like, fine. And she fixes it and it's fine. So I hear you.
Yeah,
It's like it sounds like one of those skills that is very handy and that one person in a two-person relationship should know because I can cover the other stuff, like it doesn't have to be a female male thing. I got
true.
the podcasting down, another practical skill set.
True. Okay. Yeah, sure. Like, I guess, like, probably what falls into that without you saying that is like electronic help and figuring
Okay.
out things like that.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Mhm.
It's true. It's true. I would consider the troubleshooter of the house electronically.
Yeah.
But you know what? I was just thinking, and I just want to touch on this because I think there is something important in this whole idea of like male jobs, female jobs. Like I hate that. And Laura hates that even more than I do.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
she actually does all of the handy person stuff around the house. Like that's
Mhm.
probably why there's a ladder behind me because she was filling in holes in the basement that I don't know how to do. She's like plastering walls, she's building shelves, she's using the saw. Here I am again doing the Lord's work podcasting but not doing not doing any of that other handy stuff. So like I love that. And this my personal story, she's like told my mom that she's doing all this stuff, and my mom spoilers, she's like a older generation woman from Vietnam, very traditional in gender roles, and she's like, women shouldn't do that. And Laura's like, don't let me at her. Let me at her. Don't hold me back. And I'm like, Laura, that's my mom. Don't attack her. So it is
No, like
interesting.
it's true. It's interesting. And I think like you hit it really like on the head, like with in-laws, it's hilarious because like we always joke that like I help my partner Charles do like a lot of handiwork through the house. Like we've done renos together and stuff. So I would say like I'm quite strong. Like I can lift stuff. And so it always kills me because his dad will be like, Charles, come help me move this stuff. And he's like, okay, Kristy, you come too. And his dad will be like, no, like Kristy can't do it. And Charles like, no, she can. Like just let her do it. And I always end up like lifting more than his dad. And his dad every single time is just amazed. Like just stands out there. He's like, oh my gosh, you're so strong. I'm like, Tony, we did this last week. You saw me lift just as much. So he's just like amazed. So I don't know with him if it's just like mind blowing that like women shouldn't do this, or if he's like happy his son is with this strong woman. Like, I don't know.
Maybe it's
sure how to
both.
read it.
It's probably both. Wow. What a great way to start our conversation, I think. That is really interesting, and we have never talked about that before on this show. So I think that's like a really interesting to chew on, and maybe we'll get to that a little bit later too. But before that, we have to go to the news of the week. And before that, I got to answer your first question. And before I went into a tangent, my favorite pen is also a blue pen. And probably, I would say Bic. I'm not picky. I do like it that it clicks, but I find those clicker ones, I find those for whatever reason run out of ink faster. And the reason probably is because I forget to click it back in. So that's on me.
I was going to say oxygen exposure to the tip, I think. But like, let me ask you this. Would you ever be like, those like white tube Papermate pens? Would you ever use one of those and be like, this is a great pen?
I think I need more elaboration. What do you mean by that? What kind of pen? Draw me a word picture.
So it's a blue pen. So where like the tip of the pen is blue. And then it's a white tube and it says Papermate Canada, we'll say, in blue across the pen body.
Oh.
And then it's a little blue cap on it.
Oh, that one? And when you say white, it's like more like see-through than white, right? Like, or...
Oh, no. I'm talking white.
White? Oh, those ones. I mean, I haven't used those in forever, so I don't have a strong opinion on it. I would try it. Is it a bad thing to like it?
I'm going to say, in my opinion, yeah, it's bad. Like, I would think that's the world's worst pen. It's
wow.
And it always like almost snaps in half. So obviously, we're not sponsored by Papermate because this would be the worst endorsement. But not a good pen.
Spoilers, we're not sponsored by anything yet. So watch out, world. If you want to sponsor Talking Tongue, now's the time. I'll even take the sponsorship of that shitty pen.
Bic pen. No, wait, we want Bic pens. Bic pens is a sponsorship we'll aim for. We'll take Papermate reluctantly.
Yeah, I am willing to sell out instantly. So whatever offer you give me, I'm down. Last pen-like story is that I made a poster the other day. It just like a craft that I did, which was basically just try to mimic a Ted Lasso poster. And I bought this large permanent marker that was like from the dollar store. It was like this huge thing. It said permanent marker. It was in blue. It was just a giant ass permanent marker. But I was like, yes, this is the one I need. I instantly opened it up. Right away, it was out. Like it just did not have anything in it. And that's what I get. There's no end to this story except that it was I didn't even get to use it for one swipe, basically. So it was a rough life.
Oh, I get that. That hurts. That got me in the stomach.
Yeah. So just, you know what? Not everything good comes out of the dollar store. That's my quote of the day. All right, let's go to the news of the week. So we talk about pop culture news on Talking Tongue. I'm going to read some headlines that I found from IGN.com. I've never read these headlines before, and we're just going to go for it. We'll see what happens. So, Kristy, do you know who Donald Glover is?
Of course I do, yes.
Do you know who Phoebe Waller-Bridge is?
I know of her.
Okay.
I think she writes like a lot of sad music. Is this the right one?
No.
Is she the one from Fleabag?
That's right.
Oh, are you going to tell me they're together?
No. Well, not officially, but perhaps in a new Amazon series, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They're remaking that into an Amazon series.
Okay, first of all, that movie did not need to be remade. Leave that, let that one die. We tried to watch that, like it was on TV, and we're like, oh, maybe this is a great flick. Like, this is terrible. And all I can think of was how this broke up Brad and Jennifer. Like,
right. Wasn't it Angelina Jolie? Or wait, so Mr. and Mrs. Smith was Brad Smith.
No, not Brad.
Brad Smith. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and they were weren't they together at that time?
No, that is the movie that allegedly he was like, ooh, I want to be with Angelina Jolie, and then broke up with Jennifer. Supposedly there was cheating. I don't think I'm going to believe that. And also, like, yeah, this is great gossip, but like, it's terrible to be involved. Like, these are real people. Also, at the end of the day, like, do you remember how savage people were? They'd be wearing shirts that say like Team Jennifer or like Bradgelina all the way. Like, if you're going through a breakup, that would really suck. But either way, not a great movie. It only makes you think of that controversy. And like, I'm really upset that Donald Glover took that role because I loved him.
He's
Maybe
still
it'll be
good.
good.
He maybe will get maybe. Well, first of all, why did they have to make it into a series? Because we already know like what's gonna happen. Like they're both spies, but they don't know each other that they're spies. Or are they spies or they're just really good at being action heroes? I don't know.
I think it was that they were spies, and then that's how they like fell in love, and then they had a marriage, and their marriage was on the rocks, but then they went back to the spy work, and then it made it things like spicy again. I think.
Oh, because I thought, and I could be wrong. I mean, it's been a long time since I watched Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but I thought it was just
Mhm.
like they were both undercover spies, but they never told each other. And then as their mission is like kill the other person, they're like fighting each other in the house, but then they get the hots for each other as well, being like, oh my God, I've never loved you more. And then they start like doing it on top of a shotgun, you know?
Yeah, I think that's what made them fall in love, and then they got married, which is
Okay.
why they were both allowed to live after these people were after them. Who knows? But
Yeah.
they're allowed to get married, go off in the sunset. Because then I remember they're talking to a therapist, and it's like really gross, like just them like being like overly sexual, and they're like, "Oh, I tried to kill you once, but it didn't work." And so I don't know, I'm doing a terrible job, but they're like in this really cringy therapy. So I think it's like what it's supposed to be saying is like the only way they're attracted to each other is when they're trying to kill each other, which is also very bad.
Why you don't get off away with your
No,
partner? It doesn't happen like that.
no, no, not for me. Like, I don't know, it's bizarre.
Yeah.
So I think it could have stayed in the past. Um, but maybe I'll watch an episode because Childish Gambino's in it.
Yeah. And I love both of those they're so good at acting, directing, and they've written some of the most like interesting shows in the past decade.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Glover and Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Like a Fleabag is an incredible show. Atlanta's great. Like it's just they're interesting people, and I would give it a shot. I just wish it wasn't Mr. and Mrs. Smith because, like,
Yeah,
like what? I just.
they could come up with some original content that would be really good. But I would have to say, I really did not enjoy Fleabag.
Oh no, you didn't like
It just,
Fleabag?
oh, it was too uncomfortable for me. It was too uncomfortable. And I get that that's like challenging. Like, like people like it because it's so like out there and weird. But like, it was too much for me. I couldn't get on board. And so, like, I
And you
love,
watched both
like,
seasons. You watched both seasons of Fleabag.
no, I think I watched the first season. And then I was just like, oh, I can't. Like,
Mm.
the face that she always makes me, where she's like, like,
Yeah,
that's how I feel the entire time.
yeah, that's fair. I would say the second season of Fleabag. Now you don't have to watch it. I'm not gonna make you watch it, but it could arguably be
Turn
one
me
of the
around.
best seasons of TV out there.
Okay. All right. All right. Maybe I'll
Arguably.
give season two a try.
It's a lot, but it's like poof, that is a something. Someone's gonna argue to me, being like, "Tongue, are you kidding me, Fleabag?" And I'll say, "Fleabag won a lot of awards. Don't at me, okay?" Uh, now, the next thing I want to talk about, which is news from a couple days ago, is we have Disney's Cruella that just dropped a trailer with Emma Stone. Thoughts?
Oh, interesting. I don't think Emma Stone would be like the best Cruella.
Did you see like a picture of Cruella, like Emma Stone Cruella? Did you see anything like what she looked like and stuff?
No, I did not.
She looks good, I guess is my answer. It's like a origin story to Cruella DeVille, obviously, because everything needs an origin story now.
But I wish she was like a little bit spookier, like someone just that is naturally spookier looking.
Like who would you cast as your Cruella?
I feel like Sarah Jessica Parker could be a good one.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Who else would be a good Cruella? I don't know. That's a tough one. I stand by Sarah Jessica Parker.
Mm-hmm,
I'm trying
mm-hmm.
to think like who else would. Oh my God, I'm forgetting this woman's name. Her first name's Jennifer. I forget her last name, but she's
Oh,
in Legally Blonde, and she's
that
the one
narrows
that's
it
like,
down.
and I've taken the dog. Her.
Well, this is great. This is great audio. I don't remember. I don't remember that. Man, you're referencing all these things I haven't seen in years. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out by the end of the episode. We'll figure it out. Yeah, Cruella. Like and I know you haven't watched the trailer, but if you watch the trailer to Cruella, it's really, I guess what the internet says it is, and I can
Mhm.
somewhat get on board with this, is it looks like Disney's version of Joker. Now, did you watch the Joker?
No,
Okay.
I did not. Oh my God. I'm like the worst person to be on here because I'm not up to date on
That's
it.
okay, but you've probably heard a lot about that movie.
Yes, I have. And like I feel like I'm probably more sensitive to violence than like the regular audience member.
Yep.
And I've heard that Joker is like very violent and disturbing. So I was like, it's gonna be a
I'm
no
not
for me.
I don't know if Cruella's gonna like just start mashing on dogs in that movie. I hope not. I wonder.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, what is the turning point for her? Because her real character, we just watched 101 Dalmatians the other day, and the original one, and it's like, well, her only real motivation is that she just wants a really nice coat and she wants to kill all
Yeah.
these Dalmatians. So, what is
Yeah.
the origin story to get her to that point? Like, is it that interesting?
Yeah. Like what happens to you that in your life you choose animal cruelty, which is so horrible. Like
Yeah.
that's terrible. And then like, no offense, I wouldn't want to be cast as that villain. It'd be like, no.
Yeah.
Like you said, her only thing is like she loves fur coats, but she like wants to kill these dogs specifically for that fur coat. So is that her first crime or is it like I don't know. Did she climb a ladder of fur coats prior to getting to the dogs?
Right.
Then
Yeah.
what is the origin of this? Why would you do this?
So here is what I'm inferring from this one trailer. So this is a lot. I could be wrong, but I think I'm pretty much in line. So Cruella is like misunderstood. Obviously, if you have a movie about a villain, you got to give them something to empathize with, right? So she
Mm-hmm.
looks like she's kind of bullied for being different by society, and that's what's happening. She's like a normalish person, but she like life is just attacking her, so she decides that she wants to be like tap into that more that madness that drives inside of her. So she dyes her hair black and white, classic Cruella, and then she starts
As you do. Mm-hmm.
there's like music playing in the background and she starts laughing maniacally, and then she keeps going back and forth from saying like laughing like the Joker would, like ha ha ha, and then going to like sadness like immediately, and like not knowing who she is. Like she is the mad woman. She's just like at any second she could break, you don't know, but she also is someone you can connect with because you can kind of understand where she's coming from. That's a lot to put on just one trailer, but it looks like that's what they're going for. Are you interested in this movie now?
No.
I don't blame you.
Because like, okay, wait. So I have a question. So I have not seen Maleficent, but I'm assuming you have.
I have not. I've never seen Maleficent, but we can
Oh.
just pretend we've seen it and infer a
Okay.
lot.
So I'm just thinking like, is this a similar origin story? Because like I could see this as a trailer as you see it's like someone becoming a villain, and then at
Yeah.
the end they're like Cruella. And like to me, I'm just like, that's so cheesy.
Yeah, well, I again never seeing the first or second Maleficent, even though they looked okay. It seemed like, oh, you know what, Maleficent, she ain't so bad. She ain't so bad. Like, here's a whole two movies that shows that she didn't have to be bad, but she was pushed to be bad. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah, society sucks. This is why we have these super villains.
Yeah.
But like, I think too was like also Maleficent's look, right? Like she looked very spooky. She had like the very chic like horns. Like people were dressing up for her dressing up as her for Halloween for a long time. But mind you, like Cruella is also a great Halloween costume. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? Maybe I'll watch this one.
Yeah, maybe that's it. It's like Cruella is like, she's supposed to look kind of hideous and ugly and stuff. Like she is kind of like a disheveled human being who's just chain smoking and wearing big fur coats, where Emma Stone's Cruella, even though she's supposed to look kind of like, a little more disheveled, you're like, well, that's Emma Stone down there. She's beautiful. Like, so it's like a really weird, like
True.
juxtaposition, but like they're like, even there's a part
Ooh.
where she's supposed to look really ugly and you're like, oh my God, her facial structure. She just looks like she's Emma Stone in makeup.
Yeah, totally. And like, okay, so I think I would like the origin story where like Cruella is this very rich woman and just slowly goes like spiraling down into insanity. And part of it is that she's just so rich she can afford like all these random things.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's when she wants a dog or a coat made out of dogs. Like I'm getting very like Mr. Burns,
Yes,
see my vest
of
vibes.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where they
yeah.
just keep buying like more and more stuff. And so she's just going crazy. And obviously, like she's an alcoholic and
Yep.
she's like this zany rich woman.
I
I would pay for that origin story.
Well, honestly, I think that might happen. So maybe we do have to watch it. Now, if instead they trick us and they make us rent through Disney Plus because no one's going to the theater right now. They're like, give us $30. We'll let you watch the movie. It'll come to Disney Plus for free in like a year, whatever it is. And when you hit play, it's just the Simpsons episode of See My Vest.
And
I'd
then
be
it's
like,
Emma Stone's face superimposed on
Yeah.
Mr. Burns.
I would have been like, money well spent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. This is a great episode. Just play this on loop for an hour and a half. I'm fine with
Worth
it.
every penny. Mhm.
Okay, so the next news headline I have here, and we kind of talked about this through our own personal message channel. That sounds so official. We work together. Now, the trailer that I posted was the Mortal Kombat trailer, and you seem pretty jazzed up about this. So let's
Yes.
talk about it.
Mortal Kombat, a story I'll never get sick of. I love Mortal Kombat. I love it. I'm so pumped. But like, yeah, when I watched it, like I said, being sensitive to violence, why do I love Mortal Kombat so much? It's love that doesn't make sense. But I think it's because a lot of my childhood, I played a lot of Mortal Kombat. So I love Mortal Kombat. So like I'm watching it, right? And like I can see that people are dying and I'm trying to see who's going to die because I want to know like who's going to win the tournament, if they're going to follow the same plot line as the previous Mortal Kombat or if they're going to go rogue. Lots to question. But I remember being a kid and seeing oh my God, I totally forget this character's name, but he's like a centaur with like 6 arms.
Fuck it, I forget. I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah. So he was on the cover of a video game magazine and he had killed Donny Cage and it was very graphic and it like stayed with me for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And so like now I'm always like terrified I'm going to have to watch that death again, but it's like, it's totally made up. But either way, very deep attachment to Mortal Kombat. I didn't think they showed enough of like Katana in the commercial. It was very focused on like Liu Kang and Sonya and Jax.
To be.
Like,
it always is.
I'm sorry, humans are not winning that tournament. They're not winning. Like
Liu Kang won in the original Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah, which was a good hero, good guy win. I do agree with that. But like, there's going to be other tournaments. Like they have cyborgs, and like we're humans. Like I don't think I don't think you're calculating this. So, what were your impressions, and also who is your favorite Mortal Kombat character?
Okay. Good questions. First of all, I have to say, like, I love that you love Mortal Kombat. I would never, ever have pinned you as someone who loves Mortal Kombat. I don't know why. You just never came off as someone who loved. I knew you love video games because, you know, we've played like Nintendo games together before and stuff like that. And how you keep bragging about how you're good at Mario Kart. I'll have to see it to believe it. But never Mortal Kombat because that shit's violent, but it's cartoonishly violent. Like, it's like, it's so over the top that you're like, this is ridiculous. Like, you know, he's just using his rib cage like he'll pull the rib cage out, like craft like swords out of it, poke someone's eyes out. It's like no one would ever do that in real life.
Yeah. It's like goofily violent. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, the trailer, first of all, looks fucking amazing. I think what I really like about that trailer is that it looks not only true to Mortal Kombat, which is already a ridiculous premise to begin with, so I'm fine with that, but also like we're seeing real martial arts in the movie, or at least in the trailer, which is like, yes, like don't fucking give me a CG martial arts scene or whatever. Give me like freaking people doing these moves. And then like, obviously you can throw in freezing ice balls and stuff like that afterwards. But like the core martial arts have to be done by people, so it looks cool. Like I love that stuff. So I would say the trailer looks really good, and I'm really excited about it because they actually got like real professional martial artists to help with like the production with it. And my favorite Mortal Kombatter, what do they have a name? Mortal Kombatist?
Combatist.
Combatist. I've always liked, I'm going to sound boring. I've always loved Liu Kang and I always like Raiden. Those are my two. And
Ooh,
Scorpion
I like the
too.
Raiden choice. And like, oh yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, those are all great picks. I'm not
Yeah.
upset about any of those. You're right. Liu Kang is a bit boring, but you know what? It's only because he's a good guy and he's like front and center most of the time. You're
Yep.
kind of like over him, but honestly, he's a great character. He's like the people's champion. Like I
Yeah.
know he really is the people's champion, but you really feel it down to his core. Liu
That's
Kang, number
right.
one,
And
good
he
guy.
makes like he makes like funny noises when he fights. He throws fireballs. He's just a hero. He apparently at some point, and I'm not caught up in my Mortal Kombat lore because that stuff's confusing to begin with, but apparently he comes back as a zombie at some point and then turns back into a human. I'm like, I hope they don't put that in the movie because that is way too much.
Yeah, that's too much. That's too much. Oh God, yeah, love. Oh, I'm so excited. It's
I
gonna
can
be so
tell.
good. I would say my favorite is Katana, like hands down. I love her.
Mhm.
I also really like Jade, because she's like reptiles like counterpart.
Right, right.
Well, it feels that way. That's not necessarily true.
Mhm.
And like I reluctantly like Sonya Blade only because like I played the best as her as a character. I really got like the bicycle kick down with her, but again, human side, boring. Like I
Yeah.
reluctantly picked her, and I would say Sindel. I also really love.
Wow, this is so crazy that you know more. I mean, like I recognize these the character names that you're saying right now, but I am just so impressed that you remembered all of that. But you don't remember the centaur's name.
Oh, I think it's because I hated him so much that I like wouldn't allow my brain to stick it to memory. Because he's also one of the bosses that you play in the game.
I'm thinking of
But I forget his
Goro, the
name.
guy with the freaking
It
like
is
four.
Goro.
Is it
Yeah, it's
Goro?
Goro.
It is
It's
Goro. Does he
Goro.
have centaur? I thought does he have a centaur body? Do you
I'm
remember?
pretty sure. Yeah, I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure he has a centaur body.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Um,
up for discussion, but yeah, I can't
yeah.
stand Goro. Goro is
Yeah.
grosso.
Well, I'm very excited to watch this movie as well. It's gonna be great. And even if it's
Um,
bad, like I'm sure it's gonna still look kind of cool.
I'm. I think I'm going to be entertained, and that's
Me
all
too.
I'm looking for.
Me
Mhm.
too. I mean, the bar for video game movies is so freaking low. So like as long as it's watchable, I'm like, you freaking did it. You did it. It's not, I mean, what good video game movies are out there?
Ooh. Well, Jumanji, but it's not a.
But that wasn't a video game. That was a board game. And that wasn't based on
But
like,
when they rebooted it for this time, it was
yeah,
a video game.
I guess, but it's not like, Mortal Kombat is based on a video game that we've played. What else? Pokemon, maybe a little bit. Mario had its own movie. That movie's
Oh
terrible.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Resident Evil, those movies are freaking awful.
Mhm.
Sonic the
What
Hedgehog,
other
though.
game? Oh my gosh, I haven't seen anything about that. I thought that was still a joke that they were going to do like a live
No,
action one of it.
Christy, that movie's incredible. It's so good. It's
No.
so
Oh
good. Trust
no.
me, it's good. It's a fun time. Jim Carrey's a hoot.
Jim Carrey is Sonic.
No, no, Jim Carrey is the bad
Oh.
guy. He plays Dr. Robotnik. He's great.
Oh, this is a lot of chaotic energy for Sonic the Hedgehog. To cast Jim Carrey as the villain.
Yeah.
That's
Let
a
me
lot.
let me tell you
Okay.
this. Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik in Sonic the Hedgehog is one of, and I'm not joking, is one of his most fun roles he's had in years.
You know what? I can agree with that because like Jim Carrey has definitely gone off his rocker a little bit, which I think if anyone would live this same life, they would too.
Yep.
But I think he just like literally no longer cares about anything. So when he's in these kinds of roles, like he's just metamorphosized into them. Like
Yeah.
it's not acting; he just is that person.
He's method acting.
Yeah, but yeah.
He is the character.
Mhm.
And when they're like, cut, Jim Carrey doesn't go back to
There's
being
no
Jim
cut.
Carrey. He's
Yeah,
just internalizes that character.
he is Dr. Robotnik until he lands his next role,
That's right.
which is
Okay.
probably challenging for everyone else in his life. But
Yeah, it's true. It's like, can you please stop talking about trying to catch that blue hedgehog? There is no blue
it's
hedgehog.
not real, Jim. It's not real.
No, it
Get
is. It
yourself
is.
together.
We gotta get the Chaos Emeralds or whatever. Okay. My last story is going to be really quick because it's going to lead into the movie of the week. and Paddington 3 is in the works. So there you go. Kristy, you've been talking about Paddington all week. You cannot watch, like, we almost watched Paddington this week. We almost did.
Because, you cannot stop with the comparisons to Paddington. And I have not seen Paddington. So I was like, maybe I should do my research. But this is probably the only time I've ever been inclined to watch Paddington.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I can't do it.
You can't. Okay. I'll tell you this. I've seen Paddington 1 and 2, and they are delightful. They are delightful movies. They are, they feel good. They are great for kids, but they're also good for adults too. There's just, there is a warmth and coziness to the Paddington movies. And I am absolutely thrilled that Paddington 3 is in the works, and even more thrilled that that is our movie of the week. No?
No, it's not. Unfortunately, it is not Paddington.
Okay.
Can you like paint me a bit more of a picture of Paddington? Like, what's charming about it? Is it that he's British? Is that why the first word was charming?
Wouldn't you say all anthropomorphic animals speaking British is already instantly charming?
I guess so, but I think I'm like over the charming British man like caricature.
Yeah.
Like he's a Hugh Grant, he's a Colin Firth. Like, I'm ready for a new dimension of the British character. I don't need it now in teddy bear form. Like,
but like Colin Firth and like Hugh Grant, they're like, there's like a sex appeal. Like, this is a bear.
No.
This is a children's bear, Kristy.
I feel the same level of attraction to both Colin Firth and Hugh Grant as I do to Paddington the bear, which is there's no attraction.
There's none? Okay. What about Bridgerton? They're all British, I think.
Oh, yeah. I can't get into Bridgerton. It's too much for me. I think like maybe it's the Gossip Girl aspect of it. It's too much. I don't know. I'm not into it.
Okay, Kristy, what if Bridgerton, you spin it a little bit and now it's Barrington, and all of the characters are replaced by Paddington-like bears, but because it's still Bridgerton, they all want to fuck?
Oh, no.
No?
No, I don't like the furry aspect of it. If it stayed PG and like, again, the bears don't have a sexuality. They're just trying to fight their way through society and like go up the ranks. Sure.
All right.
I'd watch that.
I don't know how to sell Paddington other than like it's a warm, cozy film, and like Paddington is adorable, goes through some really fun hijinks, loves marmalade, and it's just it's a nice, cozy film, and I don't know how to sell it more than that without like, because I feel like if I start talking about the plot, you're gonna be like, well, that sounds boring. But I was
more thinking like paint the scenario on which you would watch this film, because there's like certain films of remember the before time when we would go on airplanes, and there's like movies you'd watch on an airplane that like that's the right environment for it. If you had watched it anywhere else, you probably wouldn't have enjoyed it.
I see.
So then I'm like, is this like a cozy Sunday afternoon movie watch?
Sure, yeah.
Storm. Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, I don't trust the people who watch stuff on airplanes all the time. I mean, like back in the day, because like I remember sitting beside a person on an airplane and they're watching Dunkirk, and I'm like, Dunkirk, like that movie that was boasting like you gotta watch this in IMAX and like the sound has to be like surround sound, and this guy has like his dinky like Apple earbuds watching Dunkirk on this like 5-inch monitor.
Yeah, ready at any time to be interrupted by like, on your seatbelt in the middle of a war. Yeah, well, let me tell you, I did that to myself. I watched American Sniper on a plane, why I decided to give myself a panic attack in the middle of a plane. I don't know why. That movie's so high stakes. And then we were going through turbulence. Like I was sweating so much, my hair was like plastered to my face, and I got off, and my partner's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I just watched American Sniper all through that." Like I was literally out of breath. It was so stressful, and I was like, "Why would they even make that an option on a plane? Like you're stressed out, you go through turbulence, so now you're like shaking, and you're like, oh my god, I am in that helicopter with them. Like this is too much. It's a lot."
Some people want that extra thrill when they're on the plane, you know?
Yeah, it definitely made my plane ride more thrilling, but in a bad way. It was too much thrill for the average person.
Well, for me, that movie would put me to sleep because I think American Sniper is a bad movie. Hot
It's a
take.
bad movie. It is a
Bad
bad
movie.
movie, but as
Okay.
a captive audience because of my environment.
Fair enough. Okay, so we are not talking about bears, unfortunately. We're not talking about marmalade, unfortunately. But instead, we're talking about a movie that Kristy has chosen. So, Kristy, do you want to introduce this movie to the people?
Um, so I picked Paddleton.
So I'm thinking before it gets bad, I want to end it. I don't want to change things, you know? I want to make some pizzas. I want to play some Paddleton. They got a whole process that they give you these pills you can take, but I don't want to do it alone, and I was hoping you would help me out.
Which is a great movie if you want to be emotionally gutted.
Uh-huh.
I thought it's the like first good movie I've seen in a very long time, so I thought it would make a great recommendation.
Yeah, let's talk about Paddleton because I'm sorry, I gotta close this page that says Paddington 3's in the works because I'm gonna keep messing this up. Even when I was like, I sent you a text message that I wrote Pad on Netflix, and the first thing that showed up was Paddington, and then Paddleton was right beside it, and I was like, which one do I watch? Paddleton is 2019 movie, Netflix original. Duplass Brothers have produced it. One of the writers is also the director as well. I believe it's here it is, Alexandra Lehman. And yeah, it's a brisk hour and a half movie, which was nice. I love when people recommend the movie of the week being an hour and a half because I'm like, I can freaking crush this. I can crush this. It's midnight. Let's just watch some Paddleton. And then I was just like, afterwards, I'm sad. So where do we begin with Paddleton? Let's see what drew you to this movie and why. Let's go a little bit deeper. Why did you want to choose it for this week? Because you've seen it before recommending it to me.
Yes. So I saw it, I believe, because my stepbrother recommended it to me. And he always recommends like kind of kooky movies, which I like. I like to put a little bit more thought into it. So this one was good.
Meaning like indie type movies? Because that's what this felt like a really like personal movie with like a little bit of a spin on it, I guess, you know, grounded, no superheroes, no special effects, nothing like that.
Yeah, you got it. So he recommended it to me and I really liked it from there. And then I recommended it to you because I thought it was really interesting, like the kind of themes it takes on. Like, again, we had talked about how friendship is getting me through the pandemic. I think like friendship is a relationship that people don't like put a lot of value on, which is terrible because like friendship is amazing. You're just friends with this other person that you're just overly nice to all the time. And you just like enjoy their company. You love them. But like people have a hard time like telling their friends that they love them and like having hard conversations like about, you know, deteriorating health, which is like what this movie is about. Is one of the friends has cancer and it's terminal. So it's really hard to like talk about those things with your friends and to value those relationships and, you know, knowing that you might have a limited time, like expressing all of those things about why you care for them. And on top of that, it's like a platonic male relationship. Everybody thinks that they're together, but they're not. They're just strictly friends. And they're both like these, I guess, like midlife men who don't have a ton of friends and are kind of like weird. They have their own little quirks. And basically their whole world is each other. Like they're with each other constantly. And they both like one thing is Ray Romano's character goes on about how much he hates small talk. Like I totally know that dude from The Office, you know, that's like older. You're trying to be nice to them, but they hate you because you're just making small talk and they're like, oh my God, get this person out of my face. Right. But like, it was just like so tender and genuine of like, I know these people, it's not like, they're not like crazy out there in your face, but they're like this really nice tenderness, gentleness. I don't know. I thought it was cute from that perspective.
Yeah. I love all your thoughts around this movie. And I've liked Duplass movies before. I really think they are the Duplass brothers, like they produced and direct so many, they give indie movies a chance, which is really cool. And what I mean by indie is it's just, yeah, that's not a big budget title, but it is about like usually like smaller problems, I guess, and relationships. They focus on the relationships between, especially in this movie, two people, two neighbors, and they dive into the psyche of those characters, and they try to tell you something that you wouldn't have gotten from like let's say Transformers movie or something like that. Optimus Prime does not have cancer, let's just say that. I mean, they could do that. I'm sure they're running out of ideas, so we'll see what happens in the next one.
Oh no, yeah.
You're like, no, not Optimus. Yeah, let's see. There is so many thoughts that I have about this movie, but I am very glad that you recommended this, because it's been a while since I've seen a movie like this. And because the last Duplass movie that I watched was, I mean, at least they produced it, was The Horse Girl.
Oh my God, I was going to say, please tell me it's Horse Girl. But
it's Horse Girl, and we did a talking tongue on Horse Girl, and like it was a bit much. Actually, I shouldn't say it's a bit much. It was a lot, and I didn't think it landed because it was trying to be too cerebral in a film that couldn't handle what it wanted to do. Like it had all these ideas about whatever. Like we're not here to talk about Horse Girl, but I just felt like it was, the ideas of Horse Girl were so ambiguous, and they try to set up like a mystery, and it just doesn't land for me. And what I appreciate about Paddleton is it's much more simple than that. They try to go into just the relationship of these two neighbors, one having terminal cancer, and it works so much better because of that. Instead of putting this like more like mysterious element into it, it's not about that. It's just about this guy's final, let's just say, I don't actually know, like couple months on the planet, and how he's going to spend his time with his friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And like, that's what I mean, that it's like very gentle, right? Is it really focuses on like those really small, like moments and feelings. And like you said, like just this one relationship, right? Like you tend to find yourself thinking like, well, this person has a family, this person has like other friends, right? Like, don't they have a job? How do all those other worlds interact with these two people? But you never really like, you get a glimmer of that. Like a few times he talks about his sister and how he was previously married, but like those characters are never introduced.
Yeah. I have to say, like the two leads, Mark Duplass and Ray Romano, they really do a really good job. Ray Romano, especially, I think him in dramatic roles has just been like, so, I mean, this is not just a strictly dramatic movie. There's a lot of heavy shit. But there is moments of comedy, their own style of comedy in here too, which I think like really works for someone who's kind of like been in the comedy realm for so long. Even Mark Duplass, he was in like The League and stuff like that. He's been that guy like has just been doing so many acting roles lately. He never ceases to impress me because he's an actor, he's a writer, he's a director, he's a producer, he does all this stuff. And the two of them together is just like, there's something to it. It's a very awkward relationship, but it works.
Yeah. And like, I know Ray Romano as Sid the Sloth. Well, like I didn't watch Everybody Loves Raymond.
What? Wait, hang on. He wasn't even Sid the Sloth. Wasn't he the other one? He was the elephant guy, right? He was the mammoth.
Oh, oops, sorry. Yeah, I know him as the mammoth. My bad.
So you don't know.
Apparently not even very well. But I found that like this role really made me love Ray Romano, because like I know who Ray Romano is as a person and character, and that's kind of his whole gig, at least outwardly facing, right? And so this character was like totally Ray Romano, but in this like tenderness, right? Like, I'm allowed to say spoilers, you said?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so like when he locks up his friend's medication, that is essentially like a lethal dose that his friend wants to take, and he locks it up in this like kid's treasure chest, you can see that he's just like having trouble dealing with this. So his way to deal with it is to literally lock it away in a box and to be in charge of that box, right? Yeah. So like it's just so endearing that like this is someone who's having trouble conveying how they feel. And so they're doing it through their actions, and his friend totally gets that and sees that too and just kind of rolls with it, right? Like they never say like, hey, why did you do this? he knows right off the bat. So it's
he does,
so
and then he gets annoyed. And then that's the whole thing of them chasing each other around a table. If you've never seen, I would say The Big Sick with Kumail. Ray Romano is in that, and he plays like another type of dramatic like comedy role in that. That's an also good Ray Romano thing. And not Ice Age. I mean, that's he's not the sloth. I'll have to spoil that again for you.
But Ice Age, great comedic film.
Yes. And then Everybody Loves Raymond was good for its time. I don't know if it's something I could return to, but yeah, man, like I don't know where to begin with, like, or continue with this. Like, it seems like a lot of the moments in this film are something that you just have to kind of watch because they're all very small moments specific to the movie. What I really do like about it, though, is they do a good job kind of showing you their friendship to one another and like what they do. Like, they like making pizza together. You see them making pizza together all the time. You see them watching the same kung fu movie, Death Punch, all the time. That's all they do is they watch the same movie. They eat the same food. They're very comfortable just being around each other and talking about very mundane things. Like they're talking about small talk. They're talking about like, hoverboards. And like, what if you saw a guy that like kind of passed by you in a hoverboard? And there's like a small conversation around that. It's wonderful stuff.
I will say I love the ones where they were talking about how many wishes would it take for you to request that your superpower is stand off, which means you say stand off and every grain of sand from your body leaves, which I think like is hilarious because first of all, great superpower. There's nothing more annoying than having like little bits of sand stuck to you. And so I'm like, I feel like I would up that on my list because it seems very practical. And then they say the other one would be pajamas on. So you just instantly change into your pajamas.
Yeah.
So I want to know what would be your like superpower that's only one function that will be like a little bit more convenient in your life.
Let's see. Empty boogers. You don't gotta blow your nose, just empty boogers, and it's just gone.
You say empty boogers and they shoot out of your nose, like onto the floor?
I think that would just be blowing your nose. They would just like disappear. Maybe.
They just evaporate like from your nose out of your body.
Yeah, because instead of me having to like blow my nose or use my pinky to stuff my finger all the way up there and like look at my booger, contemplate eating it, none of that stuff.
The shame cycle of if I eat it, am I a bad person? Totally get it.
I don't want any of that. Just empty boogers. Get rid of it. It's out of sight, out of mind. There you go.
Okay, true. All right. How are you blowing your nose often that this is a good superpower?
There's sometimes like I can feel it right now that I have crusties in there and I'm like, you know what?
Said boogers gone. This would be a great scenario.
Right. I'm not going to, empty boogers. Boogers gone would be better, but I said empty boogers. And I don't like right now. Yeah, I could blow my nose. Too much work. Yeah, I can grab like a wad of toilet paper and stuff it up there. Too much work. I'm just going to let it fester in there. So there you go.
True. Okay. Good one. I have another burning question for you.
Oh, well, you haven't answered your own question yet.
Oh, good one. Okay. If I had to pick one simple function that would make my life easier, I think I would say hair done and just have my hair look like immaculate because it's something that even though I want nice hair, I won't do it. Like, this superpower would do a function that I'm not yet performing. So I would like that.
That's good. Hair done or like empty bladder, although that's just peeing. So like
again, then I'm like, where does the waste go? If it evaporated, sure.
Yeah, it goes back in the atmosphere. So
Okay.
What was your other question?
Okay, so in the movie, he is preparing his halftime speech.
Yep.
And then at one point, he finally delivers it. So after hearing the halftime speech, were you pumped up?
You mean like he doesn't actually deliver it to the other character. He's just doing it in the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
The halftime speech was good. It was good. I think it was funny because it's just like an inside thing. Because they're talking about like Paddleton, right? Like what would be his halftime speech like at a official Paddleton game. And then he starts like doing it. I felt good. It's like a very watching Ted Lasso, be like my most recent thing that I watched is just like very coach focused, and then watching like, because I didn't ever like process that a coach in a thing could be like a character.
Oh,
So
I love coach drama. I love coach
yeah.
drama. I haven't watched Ted Lasso, so maybe I should.
Oh
tune
my
in,
God.
but-
You gotta. Fantastic show. So like hearing like Ray Romano be like put him in like the shoes of a coach and like doing like a coach talk. I'm like, I love all coach talk now. So I loved it. It's good.
Oh, my other question too is, what kind of coach would you envision yourself being, and what sport would you coach?
Oh, see, these are the questions I should be asking you, but now I'm being interviewed on my own show. So let's see here. I would coach. No, podcasting's boring. I'm not gonna do that. I would coach. I would coach speed eating to the point where you're too full.
Eating.
Yeah, it's when you're eating, and like you're like, should I go for a second helping? I'll be like, yes, you should go for a second helping. You get the second helping, and they're like, oh, I'm so full, my belly's gonna explode. Should I get a third helping? And I keep pushing them through to eat more until they hurt. And then I'll give them a lesson being like, see how wrong that was? Don't listen to your coaches.
Don't. See, I pictured when you said speed eating, I thought you meant like people who enter like hot dog eating contests.
No, I
so I was like, okay, what?
No, just like eating too fast to not let your stomach catch up,
Yeah, so we should move this into like a formalized sport, which is like hot dog eating contest. So
Okay.
I want to know, from your standpoint as a coach and what you bring to the table, are your athletes successful?
Well, since I'm coaching, probably not. Probably not, but I'll give them a good pep talk. That's how I feel. Yeah. You?
All right. I think like I'd be like a pretty carefree coach, but once in a while, I would love to like come out with the big coach energy. So like on the surface, I'm like cool, calm, and collected. Then when we go to that locker room talk, I'm the one that's like kicking over the garbage can. That's like, pull yourself together, folks. Like just like really hard, going into the psyche and being like you're a disappointment. Like, let's pull ourselves together. Like, get back out there. I'm not going home without this trophy. Like, just really like laying into it. I don't think my athletes would be successful because that's not really like encouragement inducing.
Right.
But like I said, I love the drama of like a coach. I love it.
I love the idea like that you would be like maybe winning whatever competition it is, and then halftime you still get angry at them for not winning enough, and then they lose afterwards.
Well, I think this is the thing. If your team's winning and you have to go in and talk to them at halftime, you can't be happy about the winning, right? Because like if you think into the psyche that players aim to please their coach, right? If you're like, we're winning, take a step back, like let your hair down, they're going to lose the next half. So you got to go in disappointed. Like, listen, this is good, but it's still not good enough.
Oh yeah.
Like when you get 90% and your parents were like, what happened to the other 10%?
Oh my God. My parents are like that all the time. Still are. And I'm like, you know where that 10% is? You shove it. And then I run away.
So yeah, you can't let them know that they're doing well. You got to keep them like at a medium level.
That's right.
So they'll win the second half.
Yeah. So I really like that halftime speech, although like I've heard so many different halftime speeches in the last like month of other things, of all the other things that I've been watching. So like it was good, but I do like that aspect that was like a thing that they like attached with each other. And that scene in general, like they are at like an open mic and his friend who is dying is just like, I'm just gonna recreate this movie or like retell this movie that I really, really like. And I love the idea of like, nobody likes this movie, but I really like this movie. I'm dying. So I'm just going to tell this movie. And then his friend, Ray Romano, comes in and it's like, yeah, my friend's struggling out there. I'm just going to do this movie with him. And nobody's going to care but them two. And I love that. It's just like, who gives a shit? It's us two together against the world.
Yeah. So sweet. And like, it's just like, again, harps on that. Like you would do anything for your friends. It's just someone that you like endlessly support and you always show up for. And it's so like beautiful and nice. Yeah. I'm also curious to know, and this can bleed into romantic relationships, but have you ever had to support either like a partner or a friend in something they didn't like and like pretend to like it as well?
I'm gonna say yes, but I can't tell you what. Not because I don't want to, because I can't think of what it is. But I'm sure there's been like definitely moments in my life where I'd rather be encouraging than be a naysayer, or I try to be. I try to catch myself. It's really hard for me sometimes when I'm like not feeling a thing to be like, oh, like not being excited about it. But I try to still. I'm trying my best to do that. Like just encourage
Yeah.
them if they want to do it. It's safe. It's something they're passionate about. I think it's a good thing to do that for your friends and family and all that.
Yeah. Well, it seemed like you were going down like a negative rabbit hole there.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you just like learn about someone else's hobby that's totally not from your world.
Yeah.
And then maybe you end up liking it, or you're just trying to like encourage them. So you're like, oh, like what's new in this world? And then they tell you like little bits. For example,
Yeah. Tell me exactly.
Charles loves football, and every Sunday he watches football. And he's like, I just wish you'd watch with me. And I was like, ugh, fine. So I try to do my time and watch some football. But the way I would make it exciting for myself is imagine the coach drama around it. And so like just make up these stories about different NFL coaches that I would just see if they would play out or not. And that's
yeah. Wow. Man, if Laura told me to watch some football, I'd say nope. It's like, no, thank you. That's a long sport where a lot of happens until
it's
like
not only a long sport, but they play 6 hours of it on Sundays during the season. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would rather do anything else. Is there like specific moments in this movie that really spoke to you and that you really like? I mean, we already spoke to a bit of it, but like the one line for me, I'll go first, is I think this is kind of the essence of this movie, is where Mark Duplass says again and again, I'm the dying guy. I'm the guy who's dying. Like, you should give me the safe that you're trying to keep away from me, because I'm the dying guy. I deserve to have this medicine ready for me when I want. I paid for it. Give it to me. And Ray Romano says, I'm the other guy. And that to me is like the essence of this movie, because he's asking, like, the movie is one friend's dying and he's asking his friend to help him, effectively end his life on the time that friend wants him to, right? It's like, can you help me, with the pills and all this stuff when I'm ready to go? And it's a lot of burden on somebody, right? So when he says, I'm the other guy, I was like, oh yeah, like this is like, yeah, it's hard for you, but look what you just pinned on me. You put this on me. How am I supposed to be normal? You're like my best friend. You're everything. What am I supposed to do? There was something to that.
Yeah, I think that was like it was a heartbreaker for sure.
Yeah.
Because like, I think too, it like really made Mark Duplass's character realize that like his actions do have huge effects on like people he cares about, right? Like when he's just so focused on himself, and a lot of people are focused on him because he is the sick one, right? And the dying one. Like he's not really wrapping his head around like what's going to happen after him, right? So I think that was like a good, like, I can't explain it, get your head out of the clouds moment for his character.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. What other parts did you like? I mean, there's like scenes and like there's like a hot tub scene at some point with the older lady. Thoughts on that?
That was like also like, I felt like that was like a good portrayal of like intimacy. And again, talking about like how you talk to your friends, what you say, like you really get like raw and emotional with them, right? Whereas like they're naked in a hot tub.
Yeah.
And then a lady comes up and it's like, she's like, oh, I'll just join you, whatever. She gets in with her underwear and explains that her husband's passed. So her husband's always present or whatever. And they were like, oh, like we're naked in here. We don't want to upset your husband, thinking that he was still alive. And she's like, oh, like, are you guys gay? Like she kind of keeps inferring that. So it's again, like things that are like intimacy, I guess, really seem reserved for romantic relationships. Whereas then they're kind of like, yes, whatever. Like we're friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. And it was like, once it became like once Ray Romano's character starts being like physical with the other woman, it like gets too much. Like it's almost like that intimacy doesn't work because he's just so focused on other things right now that it seems like, almost selfish to indulge in like what could have been a romantic off branch.
Sure. Yeah. Like it's just like he's very distracted with his own best friend's life that it's just like, I don't really want to do this because
Hmm.
there's others. Yeah, exactly. There's other stuff going on right now. Um, I guess all right. I was going to save this, but now's a good time. The thing I don't like about this movie, there are things I don't like, but this is the one thing. Paddleton is
Yep.
barely in the movie. Ah! This movie is called Paddleton. Where's the freaking you know what though? I can justify it too because I've been thinking a lot about the title of this movie and why it's called
Hmm.
this.
Hmm.
But the poster of this movie is them two holding rackets and
No.
in front of like the big like board that they're in front of, and the Paddleton is just a game that they made up together. And I guess I just wanted, because this movie, I wish there was more Paddleton in it. Otherwise, I don't want it to be called Paddleton. I'd rather it be called Death Punch or something, because that seems to be a thing that they showed more of them doing together than Paddleton.
Yeah, true. Death Punch would be good, but I think a little too on the nose, right?
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
someone does die.
Yeah, it's true. It's a bit much.
Yeah, it's a little much. Um, yeah, I think they could have focused on Paddleton the game more. I think probably it came down to like editing that they were like, this is going to be the movie's thing, but then there was too much Paddleton. Like you said, it's a nice hour and a half movie.
Yeah.
If there was more Paddleton, maybe that would have been like 20 minutes on.
It's true. I just guess like Paddleton, like the thing that they do, the game that they made up, does not factor into the story
Not
almost
even
at
much.
all, except for this halftime speech. Like there is and then like them talking together, like it's the thing that they do together outside of watching movies and eating pizza together, and it's a thing that we
Hmm.
can show a different scene of. But I'm just like, I was so curious. I'm like, why is this Paddleton the title of this movie? Because there's nothing about Paddleton. And then I found a way to justify it. And here's my like way to justify the title of the movie. I
Okay.
think it's because Paddleton is the game that they invented together, and it's the thing, like it is very special to them. It's a unique game that only applies to these two people,
Hmm.
that you can start justifying and being like, well, Paddleton, it's the physical game, but it's also the game of our hearts. It's like, it's just the thing that brings them together. So it's less about the game that we're playing and more about the idea of Paddleton. And that's the only way I can really like be like, okay, it's called Paddleton because they that's the thing that they do.
I think if maybe like they struggled to name a movie and that one was really catchy. Plus, we're forgetting the SEO optimization with having it so close to Paddington,
That's
right?
right.
So maybe we
Well,
are just missing that they were like, Paddington's a great movie to kind of like latch our brand onto.
yeah, they should have called it Paddleton 3, even though there's no 1 or 2. And then they should have called it, they should have like colon marmalade or something like that. um, yeah, that honestly, that was really my only big complaint, because I was just waiting for anything Paddleton to be said in the movie. Although, like, they bring it back at the end, which is again another like little cherry on my point, to be like he has neighbors move in at the very end because
Mhm.
Mark Duplass's character dies, and we can talk about that before we wrap it up. And he's just like, "Hey, do you want to play Paddleton?" And he explains it to this kid, and this kid's like interested. He's also a kind of like, lack of a better word, a weirdo, or like a kind of like a more like doesn't know how to process his emotions. He's a kid, and
Mhm.
Ray Romano introduces to him this like game that sounds intriguing and stuff like that. It's like an olive branch to be like, hey, if you ever want to hang out with me, this 40, 50-year-old man, we can play this game that I made up with my friend, Paddleton. It sounds boring, but it's actually really fun. And to me, that's like the game of friendship. Maybe that's the best way to describe it. It's a thing that can like, you can just
Connect people.
connect people, right? So that's my thoughts on the name of this movie.
Yeah, wow, that was beautiful. I can't I can't add to that. I think, yeah, like you said, I think it was just something they connected with over their friendship. Plus,
Yeah.
like, we just see them kind of at this, like, I guess, end of friendship, really, because one of them dies. So you don't know what happened before. Maybe like earlier days in their friendship, they played a ton of Paddleton.
That's what I want. I want the Paddleton origin story where we find out why those two hate Dalmatians.
Paddleton, where it began.
Yeah, we'll say, and then Cruella DeVille shows up, Maleficent shows up. It's a whole crossover.
All at the same time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They do the Fleabag look. They do all that stuff. It's a very confusing movie. It didn't have to exist.
Oh my God.
All right. So I guess before we wrap it up, because we kind of been dancing around it, but this movie is quite. I guess we haven't really been dancing around it because this movie is quite a fucking bummer as well. Like there is some nice tender moments, which is just the friendship with them. In terms of humor, it's not laugh out loud funny, but it is like endearing funny because it's just jokes that those two get, which I really like. But the other big part of it is we see like the premise of the movie unfolds exactly the way they say it's going to, which is I am dying. I need to take these pills. You're going to have to help me take these pills. And when I'm ready to go, I'm going to go. And there's no wrinkle to that plan. That's what plays out. Right. And we get that in the final stretch of the movie where we get to see Mark Duplass's character be like, I'm ready to go. And we start seeing their, how they react to these final moments. And I want to hear like how you felt about that final stretch when he says, I'm ready towards the very end where he actually dies.
Well, it's a gut wrencher. Like it hurts, but like, I think it's interesting too. Like people never want to talk about death. Never. They want to be as far away from it as possible, which like I'm in that same boat. And this is like right up front in your face. Like, what would you do? And like for death being an option too, right? Like that's a pretty taboo subject, but like, right. Like he knew it was going to happen. And so this was his decision. And the reality of it is like he needed help. So I think it was crazy that they showed all of that, right? Like there wasn't a blip where they cut to something else. Like they showed him like the process of like taking the medication, his thoughts going through it, how it's like actually hitting him. When he started freaking out, I was like, oh, I should have taken the anti-anxiety meds. Yeah. Or I thought Ray Romano's character was going to take them so that he would chill. But I think it was like, he probably took it after or something.
Yeah.
But both of them willing to be like sober, I guess, quote unquote, and go through that together, I think is really brave. Because like I said, a lot of humans don't want to talk about death, don't want to think about it, but it's going to happen to everybody. And so they like show that whole process. And then again, like Ray Romano's character being there after his friend has passed, right? And then just like how to deal with it. I thought that was like pretty brave to show and like such a delicate subject. Like nobody wants to talk about it. So it really like, I definitely went through like a box of tissues for sure.
A whole box?
Maybe not a whole box. Maybe like half.
Now, if you had tears gone instead of boogers gone, I mean, like that's a genie wish. Put it on the list. Yeah. I completely agree. Like I felt as soon as he says I'm ready and he's ready to go and they start breaking up the pills, which they have a lovely conversation of being like, oh, what's the mystery of my hangman shirt? Like, what are the missing words? And I thought that was a really lovely conversation because his friend is just like really good at solving puzzles. And he's always sad when he solves puzzles. So Ray Romano's just like, oh, it means nothing. There's no puzzle to solve. And he's like, well, that kind of sucks. It's just like, and he's like, well, every time you solve a puzzle, you get a little sad after, and I don't want to see you sad. And I'm like, that's so fucking sweet. Like that's such a nice thing to say to your friend. But anyways, they're breaking the pills together. They're doing all that. And then like the moment happens where he's just like mixing up the drink that will eventually kill his friend, handing it over to his friend. And when he just gulps it down, I'm like, oh my God. The second he gulps it down, I'm like, what's going to happen? And the thing that happens is exactly what they say will happen. It takes a couple minutes for him to die. And in those moments, he gets scared. He goes through all those processes that like, I think a normal human being would go through, being like, did I make a mistake? I just killed myself. I'm freaking out over here, holding his friend's hand, telling him he loves him, saying, all these things, and then finally letting go. It's a really interesting thing, I think, to see.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a movie that does that. Like really like shows you that experience, like up close and personal. And like you said, you keep expecting something to happen that like he'll suddenly wake up, or like he didn't
Yeah.
take the right amount, or like something, some like intervention, and that doesn't happen. Like it's just exactly what they intended to do, and it just goes.
Well, they set it up. They set it up earlier in the movie where the pharmacist, who's not Phil, and they really wanted Phil, but there's no Phil. They're saying if you take it and you don't want to go through with this, you have to call like the paramedics right away or whatever. So they set it up, and I'm like, oh man, if they go with that option, it's going to be a real cop out to this entire movie. It's not going to work, I think, right? Because the way the movie rolls out, it just wouldn't make any sense for that character to do that, I think. And they don't go with that option, thank God. Like I think it's way more effective to do it this way, especially because, and I was thinking about this too, like Mark Duplass's character, the way he acts it out, being like, I don't want to die. It's not, he doesn't say it like that, but he's just like, I don't want to die here. I don't want to die here. This room's the room, like his bedroom, basically, right?
Yeah, and like how he's like, oh, if I do it on the floor, that's closer to the door, so maybe I'm like helping people out. Like you're thinking of like trying to be convenient to other people, when really like what you should be worried about is like, well, how is this important to me? Is it important to me where I am? Because like then I need to prioritize that, right? Which is like, again, I think of like a very human thought that you're like, oh, well, you don't want to disrupt anyone's day.
It is. And I think that's like kind of the thing that I like about this movie is very human. I guess that's the best way to say it. It's just like, it touches on this subject matter that I haven't seen in a long time, despite them never talking about Paddleton ever again in the movie. I think it was still an enjoyable watch, although I can't recommend it to anybody who just wants to have a good time right now, because it's like, it is such a fucking bummer. Like it's sad, it's truthful, and it's very honest, but I cannot recommend it unless I'm like, hey, are you happy right now? Do you want to like, can you absorb this, like this really heavy thing? Okay, here you go.
Well, it's sweet, I think, in like overall, but I think, if you want to like have a good cry, watch this movie. You're going to cry. Everyone's like going to be sad about it after, but you come away being like, again, like I said, being like, oh my God, I love my friends. I'm going to shout it off the rooftop every chance I get. Yeah.
Well, when you have like thousands of friends like I do, it's hard to give this time of day to every single person, Kristy.
Every person. I get it. So if you're like me and don't have a lot of friends, feel free to shout it off the rooftop.
I mean, you have a TikTok channel, you have thousands of friends. What are you saying? Any final thoughts about this movie?
No, it's great. My heart felt bigger after watching it. And it's a bummer, but sometimes you just need a good sinus clearing. But it's great. Watch it when you want like a moment of like just chillness and think about how convenient boogers out would be to you.
Yes.
Boogers gone.
Boogers gone. Empty boogers. That's the one. Empty boogers. Yeah. I feel the same way. I think I do think it's a movie that is worth watching. It's excellent casting, but just be prepared that it can be a bummer, but it can make you think about stuff as well. Kristy, can you review and rate this movie for me?
Okay, I would rate this movie. I'll say 10 paddles out of 10 Paddingtons, just for sake of confusion. Because I think it's a great movie. There's nothing I didn't like. I even could gloss over the fact that they didn't talk about the actual game of Paddleton very much.
They barely touched on the rules of Paddleton. Although I think I understand. It's a garbage can. It's like squash. It's basically squash.
But with ping pong paddles.
With ping pong paddles. Mm-hmm. And the ball has to end back into the garbage bin next to them. Right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Oh, I guess I do know the rules of this game. All right, everyone. That's our episode on Paddleton. Kristy, what a lovely, deep conversation we had. It's all over the place. We talked about theories about being a coach. We talked about knitting. We talked about knitting season specifically. We talked about this movie. What do you have for the people at home to plug?
I have two things to plug. So on the same strain of coach drama, I highly suggest watching the Scotties Tournaments of Hearts, which is the curling tournament that's on TV currently. It's great because there's a boatload of characters, and the coach drama I think is also good. because the players are mic'd up. And it's just fun. Curling's a fun sport, and you should get into it. The second thing I have to plug, as always, is my TikTok, which is great and fun. And it's called On to Nova, and it's just my partner and I making material and just talking about it. And that's it. Those are my two things. Watch curling and then watch my TikTok.
Fantastic. Do it up. Subscribe to their channel. They're going to get sponsored one day as well. Who do you want to be sponsored by? Which pen company? Go.
Oh, Bic, please. I love your pens. I need more. I'm writing in black ink over here. It's terrible.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of Talking Tongue. We'll be back next week with another episode. Kristy will be back in the pod cavern, I'm sure, before she chokes me out again. We'll see. Kristy, I didn't tell you this, but our guests always end with their world famous catchphrase. So on the count of 3, I want to hear your world famous catchphrase. 1, 2, 3.
It's not all about expensive pens. It's better to buy cheap ones.
Bye, everyone.